All right, good afternoon, everybody. I'd like to call the July 14th Energy Awareness Commission meeting to order. One thing to note is we will be doing roll call on all the votes since we have some people on the phone. So I guess the first thing we'll do is just double check that we have a quorum. So Mary, you are here. Gary, are you still there?
Yes.
Okay. Sarah?
Yes.
Yes. Lisa?
Yes, Lisa Fisher here.
Yep. Okay. And then Kim as well, correct?
Yes.
All right. So first thing on our agenda then is the approval of our meeting minutes from the February Energy Awareness Commission meeting. That was in your agenda packet.
I will make the motion to approve the minutes of the February Energy Awareness Commission meeting.
I'll second that. This is Lisa Fisher.
All right. So we have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of the February Energy Awareness Commission meeting. Any other questions or discussion? All right. Mary?
Yes.
Yes. Gary?
Yes.
Yes. Sarah?
Yes.
Lisa?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
And Jordy, yes. So motion approved. Second item on our agenda is the reports. Derek, you have our expense reports.
So hopefully everyone can hear me. I'll try to speak loudly. What we have is a comparison from 2019 to 2020. So each account you can kind of look at each year. Just a note on the difference of the total remaining budget from last year to this year is we had a beginning balance that was about $30,000 more in 2020 compared to 2019. And we also no longer have the tree rebate. And we added some different accounts in 2020, such as one that focuses on the conservation calendar and our newsletter. And we did that because we really needed to keep a better track of where we were spending our advertisements. So there's a little bit, when you look at and compare, there are some differences between the two. And also the Home and Health Show, one reason why there's more this year besides the higher beginning balance is years past we budgeted around $3,000 for the Home and Health Show, and that was canceled this last year. So that adds on to the higher remaining balance from last year to this year. And also something to note, what's labeled on top is the MTD activity, that's month to date activity. You notice that there's a lot of zeros. That obviously has to do with the pandemic, and I think people just not having a chance to get out the prior month to purchase things that they maybe wanted to. But there obviously was $4,500 that was given out to customers or rebated back to the vendors for the AC check and clean. But looking back at the last few months, there has been activity in prior months that was a little less than years, the prior year from a year ago. So back in a couple of months ago, in June, we had about $33,700 rebated out to customers, and about $20,000 was to the high efficiency lighting, and about a $9,000 to the HVAC rebates. So it hasn't been, programs haven't been underutilized every month during the pandemic, but there has been some months where there's been not much activity. And as of now, since I printed out these income statements or these balance sheets, activity has picked up. So that's good to see. Any questions on specific accounts or any other questions?
Do you need a motion to approve the income statement?
Yes, we'd be looking for a motion on that.
I'll make, this is Kim Rockbam. I'll make the motion to approve the expense statement.
This is Gary Wilczek. I second.
Okay. We have a motion and second to approve the June, July statement of expenses. Any other questions or discussion? All right. Mary?
Yes.
Gary?
Yeah.
Sarah?
Yes.
Lisa?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
And Jordy is a yes, so motion is approved. The next report we have is the Minnesota CIP report, which I believe is an annual one that Derek does.
Yep. So there's 2 reports on this next agenda item. They're computer-generated letters, and how they're generated is I put information on all our CIP programs into the state database, and that goes to the Department of Commerce, and it generates these 2 reports. And what these reports are is they're our annual conservation improvement program results from all our programs, and it's done yearly, and it gives some good information. It's a little skewed because if you miss something or you forget to report something, it can kind of skew with the charts and the graphs, but it's fairly close. But it's really a good way to judge from year to year what's going on. The first report should be the electric. The first graph shows in blue, if you look at underneath the 2019 energy saving results, it shows in the blue 1.5%. And on top of that graph, it says kWh, kilowatt an hour. So our goal to capture savings out of the money we spend and what we put in based off our revenue, we need to try to capture 2,512,748 kilowatt hours out of our programs. What we captured was less than what the state statutes require us to have, which is 1,611 or 1,611,094. So we are at 96% when we want to try to get to 1.5. However, the money spent, which is the next graph, same thing, the goal is 1.5%. We are at 0.94%. And a lot of times the way how these can get skewed is the number of people participating, and out of that group, who is participating. If we're not getting our industrial customers to try to participate in these rebate programs, it's really hard for us to capture energy savings for sure, and it doesn't help with the money spent either. But for the members that were here the past couple years, we've ranged from having a remaining balance in our programs $2,000 or $3,000 up to last year. I didn't look. I think it was close to about $20,000. So it can vary quite a bit depending on who's submitting rebates, if they're submitting the correct information, or should I say, purchasing the correct appliances that meet the criteria within the rebates. So there's a lot of things that play into effect of these numbers. And then income spending, we always have the state allows us to capture a certain percentage of low income in each of our programs based on poverty level of the county, and I think Brown County, I don't recall, I think is 20 some percent. So we were able to attach that percentage onto each program, which accounts for a certain amount of low income spending. But we also have a program that focuses on low income. So that's why if you look under the 2019 low income spending results, our goal, which is 0.2%, is $12,530. They're saying we spent $45,619. It's a little inflated in my opinion because we don't know who is low income besides the people that are using the low income program. So that's why that number is a little higher. And then the next is the planned review. It's part of the requirement for each of these reports is to have a plan for the prior year so the state has an idea of what you're going to do. It is what it is. It's planned, it's not set in stone because you can always change programs, and like I stated before, you don't know who's going to be submitting rebates. Industrial customers don't submit rebates. It kind of skews with the future planning, but that's part of the plan. I don't. If there's any questions on electric, you can certainly ask, or we can wait till the end. The next is the summary of the gas programs. This kind of will play into the next agenda item. Savings for gas programs is also 1.5% based off of that revenue that we put in. The spending, what we have to actually put into our program is 0.5%. So this is where the gas gets really tricky. On the last agenda item, I did put something, but you can always fast forward to that. From what I can understand under state statutes, depending on natural gas, an entity that sells natural gas, that's a co-op or a muni, in order to be mandated to do these natural gas programs, we need to sell 1 billion cubic feet of natural gas. We sell our natural gas in CCF, so if you convert that, what we sell is we just pass that mandate. So if you take the natural gas revenue and you multiply that by 0.5%, you get a number of what's supposed to be put in the natural gas programs, and that's just over $30,000. 30. On this report, it's 33. This next year might be 35. 30. It depends on how much you sell. That's how much goes into the programs. So obviously, with the energy savings results, we didn't meet the energy savings because we have some programs that are paying out more than what we get back, but we're spending over $100,000 on programs when we're only mandated to spend $30,000. So that's kind of a problem, and that also plays into effect of not meeting the electric criteria of that part of the state statutes, because that's money we're overspending, and gas is money we're not spending in the electric. And of course, this report has the same thing as the electric, what a person plans to spend. And if you look at the very end of this agenda item is a review of the electric spending and saving from going back to 2011. This was actually on an old agenda item last year, and I put it back on here. So you have our spending percentage. So you have your year on the left and your spending beside that. And this is what we spent from 1.48, and it varies down to 1.4. So that's the percentage that we spent out of the 1.5 that we're supposed to. So we've come close some years, and then there's some years where there obviously was reporting errors that, like 2014 and possibly 2016, but definitely 2014, where it's much higher. I'm not sure what happened there. So this last year in comparison, our spending was 94. We were at 94%, and remember we want to get to 1.5, and our kilowatt an hour savings was 96%. So we're doing a kind of what I want to do, which is try to spend more and get more savings, but we're still not quite there yet. So the last couple of years has been better than the previous years, but it's still not the greatest, but it's getting closer as we adjust programs. Hopefully that will get closer to that state statute. Any questions on the state reports?
Any idea, this is Gary, any idea how we compare to other municipalities about achieving our goal?
Talking to outside vendors, well, I have seen a report a couple years ago, and talking to other vendors, it kind of depends on the utility and how much they want to. According to let's say the entity that did our audit for our conservation improvement programs, there's some utilities that put a lot of effort into it, and there's some that really kind of refuse to put any effort into it. So we have some programs that the customers really like because we overpay, and I think that's where we come into the problem is we overpay on quite a few programs. So looking at savings compared to money spent, we're not doing the greatest. We're kind of in the middle of the pack, but probably in the lower part of the middle of the pack. And I mean, going forward, I have the report somewhere. I can follow up to this agenda item. I can try to find that.
This is Lisa Fisher. A little more insight on that when it comes to this mandate from the state of Minnesota is there is no penalty to municipals or co-ops that don't meet that goal. It's a goal that's set out there for us to strive for. And at first it was just a spending goal. You were supposed to spend 1.5% of that gross operating revenue on conservation programs. And then in 2007, they changed and they went to a KWH savings goal and a spending goal. And when they went that route, they knew that it was going to cost 3 to 4 times more than the 1.5%. To get the savings that they wanted, the 1.5% savings. So it's not unusual for the spending to be way over that 1.5%, and your KWH savings, your electric savings, to be under that 1.5%. We do where I work. We do 20-some utility reports, and it varies greatly on that goal and how they meet that goal. I mean, we have some that make a 0.2% of that goal, and as a collective on our 20 communities, we have never made the 1.5% goal. So for New Ulm to be at that 0.95 or whatever it was is a very respectable savings. And Derek is right. If you can't get your industrial customers engaged, that's where you're going to see the large savings. So that's just a little bit of history on that whole program. And it's going to be changing again soon because they're changing that law will be changing. So yeah, I just thought that might be beneficial to know that we're not really doing anything wrong. I think New Ulm's doing the programs that they need to be doing. They're participating in most of the programs that they can do. That's all I got.
That was
No, yeah, and
that
thank
was
you.
really helpful, Lisa. This is Sarah. I had a question about that industrial participation. Is it because we don't have programs for industry, or they're just not interested? It's too much work for them to even bother. Why don't we have the industrial participation?
I think, I'm not sure, I can't really speak in the past. Now I've been trying to communicate more with them. I don't know if there was lack of communication before that. The major industrial customers know about the program. It may just be that they're just not worth their time. I know one the last few years has been submitting quite a bit more, or they talk about submitting them. They don't always submit them, so it may be that they just decided not to do the work. A lot of the places, well, I mean, we do have a lot of industrial places, industries submitting rebates, but they're mostly are focusing on the high efficiency lighting rebate. There are other programs that we could probably be offering that I'm looking into. Some of the industries have inquired about. Currently, the ones we have are custom rebates. So if they're doing a custom rebate, it's basically we don't have a rebate form available for whatever it is they want to do, but there's energy savings there for them. They just have to have someone in-house, most likely, an engineer that knows what they're looking at, fill out the form and find those energy savings, improve those energy savings to get the rebate. And the other rebate we have, that's the major one for the at least industrial and commercial, would be variable frequency drives on whatever it may be, whether it's some sort of HVAC equipment or within in line of their manufacturing. So variable frequency drives and high efficiency motors. So those are the big ones. The other ones we could try to be looking in offering would be, I can't think of it off the top of my head, like a compressed air rebate. I think a lot of utilities are starting to offer that, or they have for the last few years. And that would be for covering pretty much the utility will cover, I don't know if they cover all the costs, but at least half or a good portion of the cost to get that inspection done. And as long as that industry completes a certain aspects of the report they'll get from that inspection, then they'll get that rebate. Because I think something like and Lisa is more familiar with these, maybe her utility offers this rebate, but I think the expensive part of something like that is that upfront cost of having the person come and inspecting and spending the time to find air leaks in their compressed air system, and then from there it's a little cheaper to get the fixes completed. So there are some other things that we can try to do to capture more industrial rebates. So it's just finding the right formula and the right rebate amount.
Correct. That compressed air leak survey is what Derek is referring to, and basically what somebody comes in is they use ultrasonic leak detecting equipment, and they come in into like a large plant, a 3M or a Kraft that uses a lot of compressed air, and they tag the leaks, and then if they fix 50% of the leaks, they come back and they recheck those leaks, and if they fix 50% of those leaks, then they get like half of that leak survey rebated. to the customer for the cost of that. And compressed air is kind of considered what they call the fifth utility, because a compressed air leak can just cost a company a lot of money, and it's something that should be done each year, because it just is notorious for leaks. You fix them and then it starts leaking someplace else. So that would be one program. But across the board, when it comes to industrial programs, we're seeing a lot of, the LED lighting was big for a long time, but once your large industrial customer does that, then you're back to some motors and VFDs, and a lot of those have done a lot of VFDs already, especially your larger 3Ms, Crafts, they're on top of that energy efficiency stuff. So at some point you kind of get a little tapped out on projects, and then you're getting into custom projects that require some engineering, and they're just not as easy to come up with the savings. So that might be where we struggle probably the most, is getting the proper savings and then having those reviewed by an engineer, which can get costly. So another thing that, and I know Derek goes out and visits with key accounts, is a regular key account program, which we encourage our members to do, which is an annual visit to every large business or your commercial customers, and talk to them about what they've got coming up and letting them know about the rebate.
Thanks.
Yep.
Yeah, thanks.
Any other questions or comments? Otherwise, I believe we'd be looking for a motion to receive an order filed.
I'll offer a motion to receive an order file the state of Minnesota CIP letter.
Second.
I'll second that. This is Sarah.
Okay, so we have a motion in second to receive and order file the reports on the Minnesota CIP. Any other questions or discussion? All right, Mary,
Yes.
Gary,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Lisa,
Yes.
Kim,
Yes.
and Jordy, yes, so motion approved. The next thing on our agenda then is new business, the Furnace Check and Clean program.
So, like I stated earlier during our last agenda item when we discussed the natural gas programs, this Furnace Check and Clean is a rebate that actually goes, it's to our customers, but the vendors receive the check. So the vendors, when they perform a furnace check and clean, take $40 off of the bill of the customer. They give us a list of the people they've rebated or taken that furnace check and clean off their bill. They give us invoices and names so we can verify in case they do someone outside our territory, which does happen, or they send duplicates, which happens. There's some of them there's a lot of customers on a list. So the current rebate amount, like I mentioned, is $40. It's extremely popular. I think we're at about 25,000, or is that the furnace? 2,000. Wrong here. 26,400 has already been, or that was what we have is remaining. We have $33,600 used of the furnace check and clean this year. This is one program that overlaps each budget year because of when it starts. So it starts, I think this one's late August, September, and then until through winter, so it overlaps each year, which is why there's some used already. Right when this budget came out, there was usage on it. We probably spend $40,000 sometimes on this account. As you notice on our state report, our overall budget for natural gas programs is roughly $35,000, and we exceed that overall budget just with this program. And when we did our conservation improvement program audit last year, it was suggested to try to capture more savings that we should reduce this amount. And I've done research of some other utilities close to this size and larger that offer natural gas. What they rebate for a furnace check and clean is also $25. So looking to try to capture more savings with the natural gas programs, I am bringing this to the Energy Awareness Commission to get your approval or denial of reducing the furnace check and clean to $25. Now, the one thing is, as Lisa mentioned earlier, as of now, and this may change going forward in the next few years, but it may not, we don't get a slap on the wrist when we don't necessarily meet our goals. Additionally, I'm not sure how taking 0.5% of our revenue and you having that be $30,000 and how we can actually capture 1.5% savings in gas with that much money. So it may be a moot point, but it's something that I think the utility needs to start to look at due to the fact that things may change and they may start looking at municipalities and munis more closely with their conservation improvement programs going forward. Are there any questions on this or opinions, comments?
Have you talked to any vendors about this, what their thoughts are at this point?
Well, no, I haven't.
Okay.
It's the same, this is the same as the tree rebate in the sense that the local area vendors probably get a nice boost of sales due to our program, which in a roundabout way it's supposed to if it helps with energy conservation. But on the other hand, we're not meeting our state statutes.
Yep.
I know it's not necessarily possibly obtainable, but we need to make a good faith effort in trying to meet those state statutes. And we're only supposed to be putting $30,000 into these natural gas programs, and we're spending $107,000. So we need to try to make some adjustments.
Yep.
Maybe this is too drastic. Maybe it's something different. Maybe it's keeping it $40 and we just reduce the overall budget of that certain program. There's other options. This is the first option to vote on and discuss. It can be brought up later.
Gary,
Yep.
this is Lisa. What do you do? Air conditioning cleaning one also?
Correct.
And what is that at?
That's
what is that set at?
That's currently $40.
That's 40 also.
That's 40 also. According to that, the audit we had of our programs, that was actually suggested that should be increased.
Okay.
That's what they suggested. They said there was more savings there than there is for the furnace check and clean.
I guess when I first saw that, my thought was, 25 seems kind of low. I know we had it set at $30 for a long time.
Yep, it was 30. It's got to 40. But the but we're not capturing the savings that we need. So it doesn't need to be 25, but something needs to be adjusted in the gas.
Do we also do the ECM motor on the furnace?
Well, that's another issue. You know,
That would be electric.
that I think initially was the ECM. There was so it's $200 for a 94% efficient furnace. Then it's an additional $50 on top of that if you have a ECM motor, ECM. But really, the way I'm looking at that is that if someone's getting a new furnace that's $92 or 92 efficient or higher, and it has an ECM or not, or say it does have an ECM, they shouldn't get an additional money for that. That ECM
the
rebate
ECM
should be
actually
for the person that has
I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, sorry. That should be for the person that has a 80 AFUE furnace. They should be getting those rebates.
The ECM actually is an electric measure. It's not a gas measure. So that shouldn't be included in your budget for gas. 'Cause that's an electric measure.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it is. Yeah. That's why I was saying it's another. I'm not sure why it's like that now.
Other thoughts from anybody?
So the proposal now is reduce the 40 to 25.
That is correct. Yes.
Yep. But there's a thought that the 25 may be a little bit on the low side. Is that what I'm hearing?
I think the 25 was kind of in line with other utilities, from my understanding, from what Derek said.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, it does seem like quite a bit of a difference at one time. But and we do need to make. I see where we do need to make changes with it. So I mean, I'm open to. If somebody else, if you want to do the 25 or if others want to think of a different amount, but.
I will make the motion to approve the change of furnace check and clean rebate to $25.
I'll second that. Fisher?
So we have a motion and second to approve the change of the furnace check and clean rebate to $25. Any other questions or discussion? All right. Mary?
Yes.
Gary?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Lisa?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
Jordy? Yes. Motion approved. Are there any other comments or questions? I believe Derek said our next scheduled meeting then would be Tuesday, September 8th of 2020. Otherwise, I'd be looking for a motion to adjourn.
This is Kim Rockbam. I'll make the motion to adjourn.
It's Gary. Second.
Okay. Motion and second to adjourn. Mary?
Yes.
Gary?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Lisa?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
Jordy? Yes. We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.